Hey guys, welcome back to Handheld United. You have your three hosts with you, Gaming for Insight, Gamers Generation, and of course, Game Tech Talk. How are you guys?
Hey fans and subscribers.
Hey, I'm good. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing great. And today we're talking about the Legion Tab Gen 4. Now, the Tab Gen 4, of course, the fourth generation of a beautiful, amazing Android tablet. Have you guys had the chance to hold one at any point in time?
Does the Legion Go count?
Kinda, but no.
Yeah, no, I have not had hands-on, but I want to.
Definitely. And what about you, Gaming for Insight?
At CES, I was staying on the side of the gaming handhelds, so the Legion Go S and the Legion Go 2 prototype, or Legion Go prototype, Legion Go 2, but didn't have a chance.
Right. I never held one, but hopefully I will very, very soon, because I did pre-order that Tab Gen 4 and I'm so excited for it. Now, why should enthusiasts of handheld be excited for this device? We're talking about an 8.8-inch Android tablet, super powerhouse, and the latest version has pretty much the latest and greatest that we can find in Android, or just the mobile market in general. We have a Snapdragon 8 Elite. Now, some of the things that have changed between Gen 3 and Gen 4, and I don't know if you guys were paying attention to the Gen 3, but one of the big thing that people were not too happy about is that they had removed the microSD slot. This is now coming back. This is a pretty big change. We're also getting more battery size. We're getting faster charge speed, and just maybe not that big a deal, but it seems that the white model is not coming back. If you were to have a chance to get either a black one or white one, which one would you have gone for?
Oh man, they got rid of the white one. Oh,
I know.
Oh man, I mean, my grimy fingers would have made it all dirty anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. I guess you just slap a skin on it. It's you can. It's something to cry about, but you'll get over it the next day.
Will I don't know. What about you, Gaming Friends?
So to answer your question, I prefer to go black. Now, I do have my ROG Ally 2023 behind me on a kickstand, and so that's really the only one I have other than my Legion Cloud as well. And wanted to answer your question about this new tablet, the Snapdragon 8 Elite. So that's going to be the fourth generation in the Snapdragon 8 SoC. And that's what I think we really need to talk about when it comes to this tablet, other than its awesome aesthetic features, like its resolution, its 165 hertz display, right? But when I think Snapdragon, I'm thinking two things with an Android OS or mobile OS here. I'm thinking high-end Android gaming. So we're going to be able to target 60 to 120 frames, especially for PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty, for example. But I love software emulation, and emulation on this is going to be really neat with your Switch emulation and also your GameCube and Wii emulation.
Whoa, Joe, we can't talk about that here, man. Like you want this video to get pulled? That's not allowed.
Well, to be honest, there's one thing I feel like you were heading there, but you haven't mentioned yet: PC emulation. It's pretty major. Winlator lately have been in some kind of hot water, as we probably all know.
You could still win now. It's okay. It's okay. You can win now with GameHub. Yes.
Exactly. I was going to say, you have GameHub, which I ended up trying. Did you guys try GameHub?
I really like the GUI. I really like the GUI on that. I got Crysis to run with it. I really like the customization options within. Basically, you set up your own box, and then you run your own game, and you're off to the races. You're good to go. So it's really, really smooth. I like it much better than Winlator. It just, with that GUI, it's just more approachable and more fun, I think, too, which I
agreed. And I want to circle back to something else that you said. You talked about emulation. Now, of course, we won't get into details because don't attack us, please.
But I didn't tell you how to get the Switch ROMs on the device. I didn't go there.
Stop saying that word, man. Stop it.
But I saw actually your quick chat a couple of days ago with Stubbs from Retro Handhelds, and you talked in that quick chat about how retro handhelds have kind of reached a ceiling, which I totally agree. So, question for you guys: how do you feel about Android tablets as being a viable alternative? Yay or nay?
You mean viable alternative to?
In the sense that, because I think a lot of people are going for these gaming centric tablets, in particular for emulation. But seeing
so?
as the okay, but seeing as the landscape changed,
I think I know. I think you know where you're going, and I'm gonna try to answer this. And if I'm not going in the direction you want me to go, cut me off. No worries on that. But we have many when in the house of software emulation, we have many that are interested in PS3 emulation and also Xbox emulation. And for that, Android is limited there because we don't have the standalone emulators provided for, at least as of yet, to run those emulators on Android. So people are looking to a Linux distribution to do that. And a popular Linux distribution that many people are turning to is Rocknix Wiki. Now, with Rocknix, it needs to be able to support the device. So an equivalent to customizing Steam OS to work with certain devices. You can't just throw it on any device and expect it to work and be fully operational. And we've recently gotten support for Retroid devices as well, which has been really exciting to get your PS3 and your Xbox emulation on there. So the question is, with that Snapdragon 8 Elite, I haven't yet done the field data to be able to tell you if it can, but I'm inclined to believe that it can. But if we get that Rocknix distribution support for this tablet, it's going to be really nice to play Xbox and PS3 games on there. I'm really excited. Hopefully it happens.
I'm all for it. I do believe it's a very viable alternative. And quite frankly, I wasn't even thinking about Rocknix, just the Android platform as a whole. And I feel like it's not being talked about enough when talking about Android tablets or even Android-based handhelds, such as the Odin 2 Portal. There is such a plethora of games that are available that are not necessarily emulation based. But then there's also the ability to tap into your PC, into your PS5, something that a big 8.8 screen would do a fantastic job at. And that's where I also understand if people would be to say, well, why would I go for this one if I can have something like a Odin 2 Portal? Because I do find that the Y700 from Lenovo gets kind of added to the, at least it should be added more to the retro handheld, kind of conversation that is happening. But is that the device to go for? Now, here's a question for you, Gamers Generation. What do you think of the value of this device? Okay. And especially thinking into consideration what we just talked about. Right now, you can get the Gen 3 it was $550 US at retail price. Currently, it is sold at at 470 for the Gen 3. The Gen 4 was converted at $440 US. Of course, we won't know when it comes to the US what price it's going to be, but based off of the retail of Gen 3, could be maybe $550 or $600. So what do you think of the value of that tablet?
So I think there's a lot to unpack there. I think for any of our Legion Go fans, which I know there are a number out there, this panel notwithstanding, if you thought that like you loved the idea of a big 8.8 screen like that on the Legion Go, but it was too heavy, or like it was too large for you, like I've called the Legion Go several times and gotten scrutiny for it. The do-it-all type of device. With this thing, it very much can be that. Yes, it's Android based, which I know from the retro emulation community sometimes gets a lot of flack for having the overhead and things like that. But to your point, Clef, it's got so many things you can do with it, and we're barely touching upon the streaming stuff that you had mentioned, like PX Play and like Steam Link. For me personally, like I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, yeah, this new Gen 4 with the attachment, you can connect directly to your PC. Yes, that means you have to have a PC, but I think for a lot of our audience, they do already have something like that. And so this would provide a kind of alternative to our more powerful and our beefier handheld PCs. Now, the price point does bring up some questions about like the overall value, particularly given that Gen 3, even Gen 2 and Gen 1, the previous 3 generations, which didn't, come globally. I believe they were called the Xiaoxin pad in China. Those things still like packed a pretty good punch, and those actually had the Legion Go screen too. So this one, I believe, is actually still the Legion Go screen, or it might actually be like a prototype for like the Legion Go 2 screen. And so like, in that context, you're getting this, let's call it real gaming experience, in a lighter form factor, and potentially even a more versatile form factor, depending on what it is exactly you want to do with it.
Absolutely. Now, there's something I want to point out, because if you don't know, I've been strapping a lot of telescopic controllers to a lot of tablets. And I think you hit the nail on the head with just how versatile that this tablet can be. And one thing to keep in mind, and if people don't know, the Y700 actually has 2 USB-Cs. You have one on the width and one on the length. So, for example, you gamers generation that is a pro when it comes to AR and XR glasses, that is a tablet. But that's a tablet that will do a very good job at using that as well as a controller. So you wouldn't need something like the Vitcher, an 8-bit do controller that will have that capability, but will not have the width to support the Y700. That being said, talking about controllers and tablets, have you guys seen the attachment that has been presented with the Gen 4 for the Lenovo tablet?
I was waiting for you to give us that intro.
I want it so bad. It's essentially, and something else that I need to circle back to tie it back in with the controller is strapping, for example, G8 Plus from Gamster on an iPad Pro 13 is phenomenal. I can only imagine doing that on a Y700, and everyone that has one that has that same pairing says it's pretty much across the board a great pairing. So with that Savior G9, which by the way is rumored to have been made by Gamester, we don't know if that is the case, but that's the word that's been passed around that thus far. It essentially looks like a super slim, super long during Legion Go that you can tap into your PC. You can have native games. You can have amazing emulation performance, whether it's console or PC. So here's the question, because there's one thing we don't know, is if the older Legion Gen 3 will work on this accessory. Now, if it was, would you go for an older model, or would you just go all in with the greatest and latest?
I have a lot of thoughts on this, yeah, and maybe I'm tipping my hand here a little bit too much, but I think that if Lenovo has the foresight and excuse me, Joe, but the insight to see the market, they will take a look at what they have available stock wise, let's say to their to local China, check out all the refurbished models maybe, or open box models they have on hand for Gen 3, even Gen 2. And if it is, like you said, Clef, backwards compatible, I mean, people are going to have a great time, I think, whether they go with, a previous generation primarily for the emulation and streaming, or I mean, like kind of mid-tier-ish emulation, or if they go with something brand new for like all the latest and greatest features. Like that's hitting so many price points and hitting potentially so many different people.
Absolutely. What about you, Gaming for Insight? Would you go for the latest and greatest?
So I prefer to have more memory on a device to work with, and I prefer to have more local storage as well. So my preference is going to be for that if I were to pre-order this, and I'm on the fence because I really like my Snapdragon 8 processors. I really do. So that's where I am right now with it. But you mentioned about the micro SD slot, and that's really great that this is being brought back to. I don't have the experience with the other generations, but that micro SD, that's very important, because when it comes to preparing a device for software emulation, it's very integral to have that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's something that the Gen 1 and Gen 2 had. They removed it on the Gen 3, and then they brought it back on the Gen 4. So I feel like people spoke with their wallets, and that's one thing actually before we end the show, one thing that I do want to mention: if you own a Gen 3 Y700, my apologies. It's gotta feel kind of like a kick in the you know what, because it's been about 5 months since the Gen 3. And I'm not even talking about the international release. I'm talking about the worldwide release. So people that even bought it and imported it, like I'm trying to do with the Gen 4, they had it for so little until they found out that something better came about. That kind of sucks a little bit.
It's definitely going to sting, Clef. What I would suggest to those people is join the INEO subreddit, join the INEO Discord. You got a lot of friends there.
Wow, shots fired.
And ANEO has a tablet too with the G3X Gen 3, I believe, too, that they're
which for now today.
I'll be honest, should they even release it at this point with the Y700? And I don't know if you guys heard, there's also a Red Magic newer tablet rumored to happen as well.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to software integration, Red Magic on Android for gamers is chef's kiss. And apparently it has an OLED panel 8.8 as well. Ooh. So yeah, there's a lot more exciting things. Make sure to look into that market if you're interested, and leave your comments if you have any questions, and we'll make sure to address them as best we can. Thank you very much for watching the show. Guys, I'll let you say your bye-bye.
I should go.
All right, have a good one.